Good morning and thank you. This is the Niagara Regional Police Services Service Board meeting for the 28th of November. Before I begin, I would like to remind everyone in attendance that the Police Service Board meeting is being live streamed and a video recording of today's meeting will be posted on the Police Services Board YouTube channel. The board wishes to acknowledge and honor the land upon which we gather as the historic and traditional territory of First Nations people. In particular, we recognize and thank the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe people for their stewardship of these lands over the millennia. We also wish to thank all First Nations people in Canada for their ongoing and important roles in caretaking of the lands beneath our feet wherever we travel on Turtle Island. I would very much like to start this morning by congratulating Chief McCullough on his investiture into the Order of Merit by the Governor General. Her Excellency, the Right Honourable Julie Payette, Governor General of Canada, has appointed Chief Brian McCullough to the Order of Merit of Police Forces. A ceremony was held at Rideau Hall in Ottawa on October 31st, where the Chief McCullough was invested in the member of the Order of Merit by the Governor General. The Order of Merit for Police Forces honors the leadership and exceptional services or distinctive merit displayed by men and women of the Canadian Police Services and recognizes their commitment to this country. The primary focus on the exceptional merit contributions to policing and community development. I am proud to say that Chief McCullough has consistently demonstrated and continues to demonstrate qualities of exceptional merit contributing to both policing and community development here in Niagara. His actions, words, and demeanor are testimony of his diligence, devotion to duty, and to his dedication to the Nagger communities. On behalf of the board, I extend our heartfelt congratulations to Chief McCullough, and we are proud of his hard work and commitment and dedication to improving police services in our community and for having been recognized for this outstanding honor. And Chief, I hope you make some comments during your session on this.
I did not, but thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It was a very humbling experience and a very very special day for my family and for myself to attend Ottawa at Rideau Hall. It was a great day. Thank you.
Thank you for that. First Responders Appreciation Day on the October 27th, members D'Angela and McKendrick joined members of the police service, fire and EMS personnel, and members of the public at the second annual First Responders Appreciation Day event. This event was hosted by the Port Robinson Community Church to pay tribute to Niagara's men and women who serve in emergency service professions. Another very important event took place. That was the bridge dedication ceremony for the late Constable Lucianne Desimone. On November the 8th, the service held a bridge dedication ceremony for the late NRPS, actually we should actually say Niagara Regional Police Force at the time, Constable Lucianne Desimone. Constable Desimone was responding to a call for service on May 2nd in 1974 when he was involved in a fatal motor vehicle collision on the Queen Elizabeth Highway at the bridge passing over the Welland River at the south end of Niagara Falls. This bridge dedication will honor his memory for many years to come and forever commemorate the ultimate sacrifice that he and his family have made to the citizens and residents of the Nagger community. Vice Chair Steele, members D'Angela, Eek, Gail, McKendrick, and Ms. Reed and I attended the event on behalf of the board, and it was I've heard one or two people in the public who were related, but weren't at the attendance, but saw it on video. They were extremely impressed with the honor and how his contribution to the service of the day was commemorated by that. And having going down the QEW the other day, I noticed the signs are already up. So I think that was probably long overdue, but I think is extremely appreciated. World Remembrance Day ceremony on November the 10th. Member D'Angelo joined the service at the Community Remembrance Day ceremony held at the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 17 in Thorold. Members D'Angelo, as board representative, joined police staff to participate in the official wreath-laying ceremony. As well, Member D'Angelo attended the Port Robinson Parade ceremony on November 16th, where he again participated in laying a wreath on behalf of the board and the service. Henry, do you wish to comment on that, or?
No, it's just they're thorough community events that are well attended to honor those that paid the ultimate sacrifice in defending this country's freedoms and values. So I'm, as a board member, and the service is there. We presented jointly. It's just our way of paying respect for those that gave the ultimate sacrifice.
And again, thank you very much for doing that. I'm assuming it was on November 11th, not the 10th, or was it the 10th?
It was the 10th. Is in Thorold, what they do is they have a big ceremony on the 10th, which is a Sunday before Remembrance Day, and then they also do it on the 11th. The service was there on the 11th. It's a much smaller group that goes and does the parade and participates and lays the wreath again. And then Port Robinson does one on the 16th, the following Sunday of the right after Remembrance Day. So it's sort of timing issues for everyone to get everyone's ceremonies in.
Okay, thank you again. Family and Children's Services Charity Gala on November 15th. Vice Chair Steele joined Chief McCulloch and other members of the service at the 21st Annual Family and Children's Services Niagara Charity Gala, which was held at the Americana Resort and Spa. This event celebrated the work of Family and Children's Services Niagara, which through a host of participants and sponsorships helped raise more than $725,000 to assist vulnerable children, youth, and families. The 2020 Niagara Regional Police operating budget presentation to the Budget Review Committee of the region. On November 21st, the board attended the Budget Review Committee of the whole meeting for the presentation respecting the 2020 operating budget for the Niagara Regional Police Service and the Police Service Board. Following Chief McCulloch's presentation, the Committee of Whole approved the Niagara Regional Police Service 2020 operating budget to participate in principle, subject to consideration of a total tax levy for the Niagara region on December the 5th. The board would like to acknowledge the incredible amount of work that has gone into preparing this year's budget and thanks the chief and his team for the efforts throughout the budget process. So again, for a document that was well put together. We had more comments of the budget than questions, so I think that the clarity of the material that went in, I think, speaks highly to that, and I was very pleased with our efforts on that. Indigenous Cultural Training, Police Service Board, and Niagara Regional Police Service Senior Management. On November 22nd, the board members of the service and board members and the service's senior management team participate in Indigenous cultural training sessions held here at police headquarters. The training session was designed to provide and strengthen the relationship between the board, the police service, and the Indigenous community in Niagara. Vice Chair Steele, Member Eek and McKendrick, and board staff attended the sessions on behalf of the board. The Niagara Regional Police Association Christmas party on November 24th, Vice Chair Steele and myself attended the Niagara Regional Police Association's annual Christmas party at Club Italia here in Niagara Falls. The event provided us with an opportunity to enjoy some of Christmas cheer with NRPA board of directors and members of the service and their families. And I thought it was a very well attended event. Huge number of children there, and it was. I think they were having a lot more fun than the adults. The Joint Regional Police Facility Steering Committee, as my role as chair of the board's Accommodation and Buildings Steering Committee, I regularly attend the Joint Region Police Facility Steering Committee. Since the last board meeting, the site at Number 1 District has made a lot of progress, and we'll just throw up a couple of shots of that. While that's going up, the next meeting of the Joint Facility Steering Committee at the region is scheduled for sometime in the new year, and I will continue to provide future updates on that. So if you look at what we're seeing now, this was taken mid-November, I think just after a snowstorm had gone by. You finally now get a chance to see this building, and it's large. You don't get that sort of concept when it was just the foundation in the ground, but now that you see the steel structure that's already up there. I thank Mislav from the region for providing some additional notes that I put in there. The next slide, if please. So that's basically the main floor looking from Welland Avenue southward into the building. So that's basically the main floor front to back. Next. And there was a lot of discussion at in the notes about the steel structure and how it's reinforced. So that's just a highlight of the steel plates that are used to mount it to the foundation piece, and then the side bracing that goes up there. Next. That's, I won't say that's the last piece of structural steel, but there was very little left to go up the day that I was there. So here's a steel column being put in place. Next. Again, some more work on that. And now that's a good one. This is from October 15th. What you see in that indication on the right image is the foundation component and the two stairwells and elevator columns. Then on the left, which is November 15th, you actually see the steel structure. Now you get an appreciation for the size of this building and the fact that it is going to be 2 stories and what it's going to look like going up. So I think that's a good reference between October and November. Thank you. So the next one is the Canadian Association of Police Governance webinar session. On November 27th, member D'Angelo, Gibson, McKendrick, and myself participated in a CAPG webinar entitled Predictive Policing, A New Way Forward. Webinars are offered on a monthly basis as education resources to keep board and police executives appraised of issues currently impacting the policing community. I'll point out that the Canadian Association has membership across the country, so you'll have police boards from Vancouver to Halifax participating in that. Niagara Falls Rotary Club meeting and tour. This is an upcoming event on December the 3rd. From 12 p.m. to 1:30, the Niagara Regional Police Service Board will be hosting the Rotary Club meeting here at Police Headquarters in this room. Representatives from the local community businesses will be attending, and the meeting will be open to all board members and service executive staff. The meeting will allow participants an opportunity to discuss local policing issues, and members of the Rotary Club will be provided a tour of Police Headquarters. Board members and staff wishing to attend this event are asked to confirm their attendance with board staff, and please do that today so that we get the numbers. Another upcoming event, the Chief's Holiday Breakfast on December the 5th at 8 a.m. The Niagara Regional Police Service will be hosting the annual Chief's Holiday Breakfast here in the community room at Police Headquarters. Excuse me, I've been fighting a cold for the last 2 weeks. Tickets will be sold at the door at $10 each, and all proceeds raised at the event will be donated directly to local families in need through the community care. Musical entertainment will be provided by Holy Cross Catholic School Choir. The breakfast is open to the public. Board members are encouraged to come out and participate in this event. And having done this for the last number of years, it is a very good event and well worth attending. Next one is Community Safety and Well-Being Planning Training Session. On December the 9th, another upcoming event. Member McKendrick, who has been designated as the board's representative to serve in the Community Safety and Well-Being Plan Advisory Committee, will be participating in a training session designed to provide those tasked to create, guide, and implement community safety and well-being plans with the necessary understanding, knowledge, and practical implications to prepare a municipally led CSWB plan. Training sessions were co-developed by the Canadian Municipal Network on Crime Prevention and staff from the Ministry of the Solicitor General to support Ontario municipalities and their multi-sectorial partners in developing and implementing plans in collaboration with our police community partners. Next item, Niagara Regional Police Communications Unit Accreditation Ceremony. So this is, again, an important event. On December 16th at 10 a.m., the service will be hosting a ceremony here in the community room to recognize the Niagara Regional Police Service Communications Unit being designated as an accredited center of excellence by the International Academies of Emergency Dispatch. Board members wishing to attend are asked to confirm this event. And I would point out that, again, this is another feather in the cap for Niagara, and again shows the professionalism of this organization, and especially the communications center here in our new dispatch center. Niagara Regional Police Recruit Graduation Ceremony on December the 19th. The service will be holding a recruit graduation swearing-in ceremony for 10 new Niagara Regional Police Service recruits and 2 new members to the Niagara Parks Police. The event is being held at police headquarters in the community room, and the ceremony will begin promptly at 7 p.m. Members interested in attending are asked to confirm with board staff their attendance. And last item, the next Police Services Board meeting. In order to accommodate the holiday season, we adjust our schedule always in December. The board will hold only a single meeting in the month of December, and that will be on Thursday, December the 12th at 8:30 a.m. in the community room. And that concludes my remarks. Just before I turn it over to the chief, I did want to, because I skipped over this with our slight start, any declarations of conflict of interest by any board members? I'm going to go through that component. And the last item before the chief, we have a number of minutes. There's item 196, 97, 98, and 99. They're minutes from the previous meetings, board meetings, accommodations, finance, and the IT committee. Could I have a mover and seconder to move those in block? Moved by member Steele, seconded by member McKendrick. All in favor? Thank you very much on that. And I will now turn it over to the chief of police. Oh, sorry, just before we start. We've got a very short video, chief, of which you are prominently indicated in that. So I'll ask him to read, key that up.
Attention!
So just to put that into context, I had the opportunity, and I'm very grateful to the chief, of attending the police officers and peace officers memorial ceremony in Ottawa at the end of September. I wanted to capture just a few highlights of that, which is what I did in that video that I put together. And I certainly appreciated that opportunity to do that. In Canada this year, there was only one officer who worked for Corrections Canada that passed away, and I believe that was involving a motor vehicle accident per se. And I know in other years there have been, unfortunately, a higher number than just one. So it's a moving event. I'm very grateful to see that the members of this police service from different ranks, civilians as well, participated in that. Again, it shows pride in this police service and pays tribute to those officers or other police members that have passed on in the previous year. So I do appreciate that, and that's what this very short video was, just to highlight that event. So, Chief, thank you again for that, and it's up in the agenda. It's your turn. Thanks.
Thanks very much, and as well, thanks very much for attending the Peace Officers Memorial. It's always a somber event, but an important day to pay tribute to those officers, but more importantly to their families and survivors who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. So thank you again, Chair. I'll start off just to provide an update with regards to the background check waiting period. I'm sure some of you have received some inquiries about this, but I'll provide an update. You recall that we received a large influx of record check requests in 2019. These checks included police criminal record checks, a police criminal record and judicial matters check, and police vulnerable sector checks. At its peak, this caused an approximately 6-week waiting period for an applicant of information to receive their results. This was a direct result of the Police Record Checks Reform Act, which came into effect in November of 2018. As a result, a few agencies, out of an abundance of caution, decided to rescreen all of their current employees and/or volunteers, ensuring that they were compliant with the new legislation. This caused a backlog in January and February of 2019, which typically is a slower period of time for our records unit for processing these types of requests. Unfortunately, it resulted in an extra 654 record check requests being received by our records unit, in addition to the normal volume of internal records checks. I'm proud to say that with the assistance of temporary overload staff, we're now providing record check results within a 2-week window, and in many cases on the same day of the request if the applicant has no criminal convictions or police information on file. I want to thank and commend Records Manager Mr. Gary Holden, who has spoken to the board on many occasions in the past, and in particular all of his records staff for their efforts and diligence in getting the turnaround time for records check back on track. So a great team effort on Gary and on his staff's part. I just want to provide an update with regards to Project Impact initiative that has been going on for many years. It commenced 17 years ago and has been operating annually since and continues to grow in popularity. It's currently organized as part of the NRPS Community Engagement Unit. IMPACT is an acronym for Intensive Measures, Police and Community Together, and the program has several goals, of which include improving the relationship between police and at-risk youth in our community ages 13 to 17 years of age, increasing access to police officers as mentors, increasing police volunteers in a community-based program, educating the students in various facets of policing, enhancing self-esteem and community connections for at-risk youth, reducing school dropout rates and concerning behaviors at school and in the community, enhancing goal setting, decision-making, and teamwork skills for participants, enhancing life, social, and employability skills for their future, providing a recreational opportunity to get at-risk youth engaged in positive activities, and inspiring a sense of hope for their future lives. The program runs a minimum of 90 minutes at each session and includes team building, police facilitation and recreation, and cooperative team games. There's usually about 10 project impact sessions throughout each school year. So far this year, Project Impact is averaging upwards of 165 youths per session. The program is organized by our school resource officer, Constable Dave Marinick, in conjunction with the District School Board of Niagara. Constable Larry Meany and Constable Larry Northgate, Special Constable Larry Northgate are also participants who partner with DSBN staff and Brock University student mentors to make this program a success. Presentations from our members have included various NRPS specialty units such as our tactical unit, K9, traffic, marine, cybercrime, and recruiting. The program also attempts to incorporate a motivational speaker at each of the sessions. One recent motivational speaker was Jordana Goldlist, a top criminal defense lawyer in Toronto, who presented on her difficulties as a youth and how she overcame problems and obstacles to become who she is today. I want to thank all the members of the Niagara Regional Police Service, members of the DSBN, Brock University student mentors, and guest motivational speakers, and all other participants in the Project Impact for their contributions to this very successful community engagement initiative. The influence they are having on our most valuable asset, our youth, helps to facilitate healthier and happier youth and ultimately leads to safer communities. The service looks forward to its continued participation in this program. I just want to bring to your attention, I've got, I think, 3 SIU closures. So on the first one relates to an incident that occurred on Wednesday, February 6, 2019. Members of our 1 District Street Crime Unit, assisted by members of the Emergency Task Unit, executed a Controlled Drugs and Substances Act search warrant at a rooming house on Niagara Street in St. Catharines. ETU officers made the initial entry due to officer safety concerns and secured the occupants of the residence. Upon entering one room, a male refused to comply with the direction of officers and had to be forcibly removed from a bed and placed to the floor. The male subsequently complained of rib pain at the scene after having landed on a small metal box. He was examined by EMS personnel and cleared medically prior to being transported to our central holding. While in custody, the male complained of rib pain and as a result was transported to hospital for examination, where he was diagnosed with 2 non-displaced rib fractures and released back into police custody. As a result, the Special Investigations Unit was notified and invoked their mandate to investigate. The SIU designated 1 subject officer and 3 witness officers in the matter. And on Wednesday, October 23rd, our service received notification from Interim SIU Director, Mr. Joseph Martino, who advised that the SIU had concluded their investigation and there were no grounds for criminal charges against any officer. The second one relates to an incident that occurred on Monday, February the 18th, where uniform officers from 3 districts responded to a residence for a violent family domestic where a female complainant alleged that her 64-year-old brother was going crazy. The 911 call taker could hear her being assaulted by the suspect. Upon arrival of the first uniform officer, the suspect was observed fleeing to his own apartment within the residence, ignoring the officer's directions to stop. The officer pursued the suspect, attempting to place him under arrest. However, the suspect attempted to punch the officer. The officer subsequently grounded the suspect, who then attempted to bite the officer. The suspect was restrained until additional officers arrived to assist in handcuffing. The suspect was charged with 2 counts of assault with a weapon and 1 count of assault police with intent to resist arrest. The suspect was transported to by EMS to the NHS St. Catharines site, where he was diagnosed with 2 fractured ribs and a collapsed lung. As a result of the injuries, the Special Investigation Unit was notified and invoked their mandate to investigate. The SIU designated 1 subject officer and 4 witness officers. On Monday, October 28th, our service received notification from Interim SIU Director, Mr. Joseph Martino, who advised that the SIU had concluded their investigation and there were no grounds to lay criminal charges against any officers. And the third SIU closure relates to an incident that happened on Monday, April the 8th, 2019. A Nygh Regional Police Sergeant was on routine patrol in a marked cruiser where he observed a male acting suspiciously in the vicinity of the old courthouse at King and James Street in St. Catharines. The sergeant subsequently observed suspected drug use by the male and intervened. Upon identifying the male, it was determined that he had outstanding arrest warrants for failing to appear in court in relation to several offenses. When the sergeant attempted to arrest the male, he attempted to flee and a struggle ensued, resulting in the male being grounded. The sergeant restrained the male on the ground until two constables arrived to assist with handcuffing. The male sustained an injury to his nose and he was transported by EMS to the NHS St. Catharines site, where he was diagnosed with a fractured nose, and the SIU was notified and invoked their mandate to investigate. The SIU designated one officer as a subject officer, while two officers were designated as witness officers. And on Tuesday, November the 12th, our service received notification from the SIU Director, Mr. Joseph Martino, advising that the SIU had concluded their investigation, and again, there were no grounds for criminal charges for any of the officers involved. Just want to provide a brief update with regards to the officer-involved Pelham shooting incident. As you're all well aware, on November 29th, 2018, in the town of Pelham, there was an incident between two on-duty Niagara Regional Police officers. This led to serious injuries being sustained by one of the officers. Special Investigations Unit was notified, invoking their mandate, and charged Detective Sergeant Shane Donovan with attempt murder, aggravated assault, and assault with a weapon. You'll recall that at the onset of this incident, I requested the OPP to conduct an investigation of the same incident as it pertained to any possible criminal wrongdoing that fell outside of the scope of the SIU mandate. The OPP initiated an investigation and ultimately charged Constable Nathan Parker with assault peace officer, assault with intent to resist arrest, and assault with a weapon. On Friday, November 22nd, 2019, we've learned the Crown withdrew all criminal charges that were laid by the SIU against Detective Sergeant Donovan. Constable Nathan Parker remains charged in connection with this incident, and that court process is still ongoing. Just with regards to our 2019 homicide statistics, so far, during the reporting period of October 23rd to November 26th, we did not have any homicides. To date, we have 6 homicides that have occurred in 2019 and 1 attempt murder investigation that occurred during that same time frame. By comparison, we had 2 homicides in 2018, 3 homicides in 2017, and 1 homicide in 2016. With regards to traffic fatalities and serious collision statistics, there were 2 fatal motor vehicle collisions and 3 life-threatening motor vehicle collisions that occurred during the month of October. Again, I'll knock on wood. So far in 2019, we have 10 reportable fatal collisions that occurred in 2019. Comparatively, in 2018, for the entire year, we had 13. 2017, we had 16, and 2016, we had 16 as well. So we're trending favorably, and we certainly hope those statistics carry through. As well, we've had 10 life-threatening injury collisions that occurred so far in 2019. Just a brief summary for each of those 2 fatal collisions. On Wednesday, October the 16th, 2019, police responded to the area of Victoria Avenue and 16 Road in the town of Pelham regarding a motor vehicle collision that involved a motorcycle. Investigation revealed that a 27-year-old male operating a Kawasaki motorcycle was traveling southbound on Victoria Avenue near 16 Road. There's indication that the motorcycle had no working headlight while traveling during the nighttime hours. Also at this time, a Chevrolet motor vehicle was being operated by a 40-year-old male and lone occupant of that vehicle, traveling northbound on Victoria Avenue, and was in the process of passing a slow-moving vehicle. The motorcycle and the Chevrolet motor vehicle collided head-on. Unfortunately, the male operator of the motorcycle was pronounced deceased at the scene, and the driver of the Chevrolet received minor injuries. Investigation in relation to that matter is ongoing by our collision reconstruction unit. And on Friday, October 25th, 2019, our officers responded to the area of King Street and Slate Street in the city of Welland regarding reports of a pedestrian being struck by a motor vehicle. Investigation revealed that a 67-year-old male was walking across King Street from an east to west direction when he was struck by a pickup truck that was traveling northbound on King Street that was being operated by a 25-year-old male occupant. The pedestrian suffered life-threatening injuries and was transported to an out-of-town hospital. And tragically, on Saturday, October 26th, the pedestrian succumbed to his injuries. Driver of the pickup truck did not suffer any injuries. The collision reconstruction unit has attributed the cause of this incident to pedestrian error. Some items in the news. On Friday, November the 1st, members of the Niagara Regional Police Service conducted a ride checkpoint in the city of St. Catharines. Throughout the night, officers stopped in approximately 150 vehicles and questioned the drivers regarding any alcohol or drug consumption prior to driving. A total of 7 drivers were requested to provide a sample of their breath for analysis. 1 driver registered a fail and was subsequently arrested for impaired driving. 2 other drivers provided samples in the warning range and had their licenses suspended for a period of 3 days. Another driver approached the ride checkpoint and turned around once they noticed the police officers. The officer nearby spotted the vehicle, turned around and conducted a traffic stop to investigate further, my apologies. It was discovered that there was a stolen license plate attached to the vehicle, and the driver was operating with a suspended driver's license. He was charged accordingly. And just with regards to the St. Catharines shooting, at approximately 4:55 on Sunday, November 24th, 1 district officers were called to the report of a male that was shot in the city of St. Catharines. Investigation revealed that the shooting occurred following an altercation near a residence on Page Street and Manning Street. 31-year-old male was initially treated at a local hospital before being transported to an out-of-town hospital for treatment of serious but non-life-threatening injuries. And that incident is not believed to be a random act, and investigation is continuing by our one district detectives. And another incident in the news on Sunday, November 24th, 1 district uniform officers responded to an address on Manley Crescent and Kiefer Road area of Thorold following the report of a death of an adult male. Investigation revealed that the male had been deceased inside the residence for a very prolonged period of time. The 2 46-year-old females have been arrested and charged in connection with this investigation. Both are charged with neglect of duty as it pertains to a dead body, and detectives continue to investigate along with the Office of the Coroner to understand the circumstances of his death. And that concludes my remarks for the public portion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving into the consent agenda, we have 5 items, number 200 to 204. If I could get someone to move that in block, please. Moved by Member DeAngelis, seconded by Member Eek. Is there any questions on any of these consent items? Member Eek?
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple brief questions for clarity for myself and maybe for others. Item 201, the quarterly report for Nygh Regional Police Services authorized strength as of October 1st, 2019. And in looking over the summary of the report, our authorized size is 1,032 personnel versus an actual of 1,021. And my question is, by whom do we get the authorized amount, if I may?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the authorized amount is what is approved by this board as part of the annual budget process. So any time that we request additional officers or civilian members of the service, those numbers are added to the authorized strength.
Thank you very much, Chief. And my second question is to the following report, 202, which is a quarterly report recognize overtime activities incurred by the Niagara Regional Police Services. And I read somewhere that the Employment Standards Act does not apply to police officers. And so my question, is there a provincial guideline that may set a maximum overtime hours for an officer to work in a week?
So through you, Mr. Chair, that's correct. The Employment Standards Act does not apply to uniform police officers, and at present there are no standards that relate to a maximum number of overtime hours that can be worked by a member.
Thank you, and I raise that only because I know industry, I believe there are certain standards that are required, so thank you for the clarity. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Other board members? Member DeAngelo and then Member McKendrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make a comment on 202, sorry, the quarterly report overtime activities. Again, what I just want to do is highlight, this is a good report. I like this because it shows the trends of what's happening. Just on Appendix 1, it's just regarding meeting minimums. It's continually climbing, which is information that was used in the last budget process to hire 40 new officers. So again, I just want to commend the service. They're seeing the data here, and the data is translating into require more officers, and the chief brought that forward in the last budget. So he's addressing the overtime issues. So I just wanted to highlight that in the report. It's information that's very useful, that's being utilized to make proper decisions as we move forward.
Thank you. And everybody's aware of his Appendix 3 and 4 got updated to his yellow sheets. So Member McKendrick.
Thank you, Chair. I'm referring to item 200, the administration of the public complaints system, and wanted to point out that it seems that the complaints are being resolved in a positive manner, so that's nice to see. My question was, I also noticed that there's some increase in the amount of complaints compared to previous years, if I'm reading the data correctly, and I'm wondering if we have any insight into what may be contributing to that higher number. And I'm okay if you don't have an answer today. I'm just curious for future purposes.
Through you, I'm going to Mr. Chair, I'm going to turn to Inspector Woods, who oversees our professional standards unit, and he should be able to provide some clarity on that.
Thank you, Chief. Through you, Mr. Chair, there has been a slight increase this year in the total number of public complaints. I actually checked this morning. You won't see the number till the next quarter, but we're up to 98 at this point in total. Just keep in mind that every complaint that comes in through the OIPRD is given a number. There's a percentage, fairly large percentage of those that actually don't get investigated as determined by the OIPRD. So overall, it has trended slightly upwards this year compared to the last 5 years, but we're still in the same ballpark of 80 to 100 complaints a year.
And thank you for that. I was looking for the insight in why the increase, but also don't want to miss the piece of, and they're being resolved in one way or another in a positive trend. So thank you for that.
Any other items? I too had noted the item on 200, but I accept the explanation on that one. I just wanted to comment on report number 204. I just wanted to comment specifically on how this was laid out. I'm referring basically to pages 4 and 5. Well put together report. It really highlights in here the supervision of the front line, specifically on page 5, and for any of the members that are newer to the board, it gives you a good indication as to how the supervision is conducted on the front line between sergeants, staff sergeants, and the inspector in charge of the appropriate districts in that. So I commend the service on a very well laid out and informative report on that. So we have a mover and seconder for this. So unless there's any other questions, show of hands in favor of receiving in block. Thank you very much. Moving on to the new business is item number 205. It's a change in the organization structure. If I could have a mover and seconder, please, for that. Member, Vice Chair Steele, Member D'Angela. Any comments on the organization chart change, Chief?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think the report is quite self-explanatory. It is really in response to changes that we've made to enhance the organization based on the workplace assessment and our civil review of the service delivery model, as well as introducing new members to our organization, including our general counsel and psychologist to the service as well.
Thank you. And this will be updated to the website, I would say, and appropriately, right? You'll get this information on our website? Yep.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Show of hands in favor, unless there's other questions. Fine, that's dealt with. Number 206, special fund request. Mover and seconder, please. Member, Vice Chair Steele, Member McKendrick. This is for the Chief's charity gala coming up in January. Questions on this matter from any board members? Chief, do you wish to comment? It's fairly straightforward.
I'll just say that this will be the 4th annual Chiefs Gala, and last year we had 350 people in attendance. So we hope to have a similar number this year. We've got a great guest speaker lined up with Amanda Lindhout, who has a very compelling story to tell, and we certainly look forward to having the board and members of the public in attendance.
Thank you. We have a mover and seconder, I know that. Oh, sorry. Member Eek, do you have a question? No. Show of hands in favor, please. Thank you. Deals with that one. Items number 207, another special fund request. Mover and seconder for that, please. Member Eek, seconded by Member McKendrick. Any discussion on the Socks for Change program? I know we started this, I think, 2 years ago. I think it's when we first started into this. Any comments by board members on that? Not seeing any. I think it's a good program. Show of hands. Thank you. C218. This is basically a leftover from our last meeting because I wanted to have a discussion before basically committing someone to a role. So we did have a discussion in confidence, but I need a mover and seconder to approve Tara McKendrick as the board's representative on the Community Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Plan Committee at the region, and further that we will notify the region of her appointment. And that's so mover and seconder by Member D'Angelo, seconded by Member Eek. I don't suspect there'd be any comments on this item. Show of hands in favor. Thank you very much. This is carried. Yeah, you're in. Good luck. I've come to the end of the public component of the meeting, unless there's anything to be added. Oh, sorry, Member Steele.
Thank you, Chair. Just through the Chief, as Mayor of Port Colborne, I'll put my mayor's hat on. As everyone's well aware, we had the October 31st, November 1st, 2nd high wind storm that we had major damage in the city of Port Colborne. Again, last night we had wind warnings, which created our emergency team to start meeting on Wednesday. I'd just like to thank the chief for Port Colborne's detachment and their involvement with our emergency preparedness team, and also with the first storm back on October the 31st into that weekend. The officers were great. The staff sergeant on at night, we called him on the first storm. He had no idea why we were calling, but he showed up. He had time to sit down with us, so we were able to get your members and our staff and CNP moving in tandem. And then yesterday, Staff Sergeant Rob LaPlante, over the last 2 days, have attended our preparedness meetings. Knock on wood that everything went well last night. We had some flooding, but no major power outages, no major tree damage like we had last month. So I'd just like to, through you, to please thank your staff. They did a great job for us. And being prepared and as we move along and learn things with regards to these types of emergencies, it bodes well that our force is right there with us. So thank you.
Thanks very much. I'll make sure I pass that along to Staff Sergeant LaPlante and his staff. Thank you.
Okay, unless there's anything else on that, we're going to adjourn, and we'll take a brief break for about 15 minutes, and then we'll get into the confidential segment. Thank you very much.